Welcome to Book Buddies, the podcast full of book reviews, rankings, and all sorts of activities with books. I'm Louisa Hammond, self-proclaimed book dragon with a Bachelor of Arts in English with an emphasis in creative writing, as well as theater.
If you've been keeping up with news in the Harry Potter world, book world, or even the entertainment world, you're probably quite aware that HBO Max is creating a new Harry Potter series that's going to be coming out in a year or two. And naturally, because of this, there's been a lot of discourse online regarding casting, whether this is necessary. We've had leaked photos. And as somebody who has a channel and podcast devoted to books, and, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, I think it's my turn to share some of my thoughts, specifically why I think this new adaptation of Harry Potter could work and be successful. Once again, this is just my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's completely fine. And remember, I'm just going to be talking about why I think this could work. I'm not going to be sharing all of my thoughts about this. So the first reason why I think this can work is it's a different format. We have the Harry Potter movies, and they are, as an adaptation, great, they hold up. However, there's only so much time you can do with only like 2 or 3 hours per movie. Oh, well, the last one was split into 2 movies. But naturally, with the series, you can get more time. You're able to dive deeper into things that were kind of brushed aside in the movie, bring back things that weren't able to make it in because of the time or even just technology back in the days. Secondly, this is a new adaptation of a previous source material as opposed to a remake of the adaptation if done correctly. If this were specifically a remake of the movies themselves, I would question, why do we need a remake of a remake? However, because it is another adaptation of a book, I think it works. Kind of like with something such as Pride and Prejudice. You have plenty of movies and miniseries. However, naturally, they're not replacing one because it's a different format. You have a movie version, you have a series version, and generally they're going to the original book. They're not just remaking this specific series. Next up is the timing. When the Harry Potter movies were first being made, they only had the first 4 books out, so naturally they didn't know the entire story going in, making some of their choices were influenced by that. And because of some of those, it kind of backfired some moments later on because they didn't properly set it up. I think with Dobby, they thought we can let him be out of a couple of movies, but then ultimately it makes his death in Deathly Hallows less impactful because we didn't really get to spend much time with him. And similarly, now that we know the full story, it's going to change how the story is adapted to the screen again. We know how everything plays out. We know what needs to be elevated, what needs to be built up properly, so the payoff makes more sense. It's more satisfying. Finally, this new series isn't gonna ruin or replace anything that came before. I had a conversation with a friend of mine about this series, and during the conversation, we also mentioned how Avatar got a really bad live-action movie. However, it didn't ruin the Last Airbender TV series. And similarly, generally when a bad remake adaptation comes out, it's not gonna ruin or erase what came before. So I think whether or not this series is awesome or really was just a terrible cash grab at the end of the day, it's not going to ruin either the original source material being the books or the previous screen adaptation with the movies. So those are my reasons as to why I think this Harry Potter TV series could work and why I'm looking forward to watching it when it comes out. I'm Louisa Hammond, and I'll see you next time.